Thanks for staying with us. So, according to reports, an update from the Directorate of Public Prosecution under the Ministry of Justice in Lagos State issued a report on the death of Sylvester Oromoni Jnr. And they have exonerated the 5 students and the 5 employees whose names were mentioned over his death. Most Nigerians found it quite disappointing. Now, when the reports came out, a lot of Nigerians obviously took to social media, and there was a lot of anger. In fact, we saw a video of the mother obviously crying, not happy about the report. I think Sylvester's father also issued a press release. So we'd like to hear from Nigerians today. You can call in to 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also send us a message on YouTube and Facebook. We'd like to hear your thoughts. So when I read the report, obviously, when this happened, I mean, for those who probably needed clarity on what was going on, when the young boy passed away, the Ministry of Education Lagos State obviously waded in to see the family and then reported to the Ministry of Justice that, okay, the boy has died. Please help us look into it. And that's when the police was invited to investigate. Now, based on what we had, the police immediately arraigned the boys, I think the 4 or 5 boys that were involved, detained them, interrogated them, and I think they were even left, they were kept in the police custody for a while, in juvenile detention for a while. And then an autopsy was conducted on the side of the family first. So the doctor, the pathologist working with the family, conducted an autopsy in Warri and had their own conclusion. This same pathologist from Warri also joined the pathologists from the families of the 4 boys that were accused, plus pathologists from the LASG and 3 policemen came together to do a transparent autopsy. The results for that, according to the report, corroborated what the pathologists from Warri initially had. So based on the reports that we've read, the boy unfortunately died of sepsis, now, which was caused by bacterial infection. Now, there are different ways we can look at this. So I would like to hear from Nigerians because there's so many questions unanswered. For example, was the boy bullied? The report didn't tell us that if he was bullied, because there's a possibility. There's a possibility that he was still bullied. Number 2, the boy who died said he was given substance to drink. The autopsy didn't confirm or refute it. And also, the part that the family of the boys also, the parents didn't take him to the hospital. The moment he came back from Lagos, I was told, I read the report, he went to Lagos, he left Lagos 26th of November. They didn't take him to the hospital. It was towards the end, while he was in pain, that they now moved him to the hospital. So he was in the house for almost 7 days, I think, for a few days before even the hospital came.
He went on the 29th.
He went to go and check to get a test done. But I think he was still home. It was towards the end of the week that eventually they took him to hospital before he died. Now, if he was indeed sepsis, as Nima had said earlier, maybe they could have taken him to hospital earlier, he would have survived. So there are so many questions Nigerians are still asking, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on. It's hard to say who do we hold, who do we blame, what's going to happen. Nigerians are not happy that these boys seem to be going home. What are your thoughts on this report, and how do we go from here?
So I'm not unhappy that the boys are going on because, you know, it would have been an injustice if they are innocent and they're made to face anything. But what this report, of course, is a pathologist report, cannot determine is that if there was bullying.
Yes.
If something happened in the hostel, that's what circumstantial evidence from other people who witnessed, the hostel mates, the room bunk mates or whatever, what they witnessed that night. And we've heard different accounts, but we've not heard about the police interrogating anybody within his room under their investigation. So that has not been established. Sepsis is an infection, as far as my layman understanding of it goes, that if it is detected earlier, it can be averted and, you know, the life of a person saved, but it can take the life of a person if left to fester for too long.
Yeah.
So that I know. And I'm wondering, there was a report, there was an allegation of him having been forced to drink a substance. If this substance, like we all thought, was not a chemical substance, if it was a contaminated substance, the pathology report did not show that. You know, it did not show, of course, from the autopsy now, we did not see injuries of the beating. which, you know, was reported that he was properly beaten, so he was in pains and couldn't move. And now that that has been taken care of, does it show that, you know, in the course of bullying, at the time when the allegation of light switch off and all of that, something is still holding that school to question, the owners of that school, the, what they call them, the teacher that takes care of the hostel. Housemaster. You know, there's still something. So just that he's sticking to his story doesn't mean that that's the only story. And that's the job of the police to find out for us. It's so saddening for me to find out late today. I'm hearing for the first time today that when he arrived, he wasn't immediately taken into hospital. That, for me, is sad because it spreads the blame to parents, delay, doubt, not trusting or acting on time.
Let me say, I mean, I'll come to top right now. In other parts of the country or of the world, in this kind of situation, when a child is in distress, they call you from school that your son is not feeling very well, and you refuse to take that child to the doctors immediately, automatically, if this was in America or maybe all these abroad countries, first of all, arrest the parents, first of all. Because on what basis would a child be in this kind of pain and you don't take the child to the hospital immediately? That was worth discussing and questioning. So, what do you think about this whole thing,
Okay, so, of course, I would not want innocent person to... If there's anybody innocent, the person should be... If anybody is innocent, it shouldn't be guilty based on social media and stories around. And if somebody is guilty, lapses in the system and investigative process should not let the person go scot-free if they are guilty. That's on one side. On the other side is the fact that... there were many people that came out after this thing happened to say that this happened to my boy also in the same school. He was beaten by these same children. Was that part investigated at all? Because the only part I saw from this autopsy was that they checked his intestine to be sure, okay, what could have caused the death? Sometimes, maybe because we've watched too much, I have watched a lot of Hollywood, and I used to like watching a lot of thrillers and criminal movies. We might not have the full understanding of what happened. But I want to say for a fact that there are many people that confessed that they were also bullied and hurt in this school by these pupils. If they might not be guilty of killing a child, their actions might not have directly led to the death of this boy. But did they beat up that boy? If they did, that should be brought to
So, there are different layers. So right now we have an autopsy result, which is scientific, right? We're still waiting for the Ministry of Education to do the needful. Or then let us know what you're going to do to Dowen College. Because there's a different, just like you said, there's a scientific report we have from the Ministry of Justice conducted, right? But we're still waiting for that administrative regulation on the part of the Ministry of Education. Okay, what are you going to do to the school? What investigations will go ahead, will go on to ensure that if indeed bullying exists in that school, based on this thing you're saying, and other private schools, and even schools across the state, what's going to be done going forward to ensure, to forestall this from happening going forward? Yes, go ahead.
That was going to be my point exactly, because the thing is, there has been accusation of bullying in the school. Now, if there has been accusation of bullying in the school, this does not exonerate the school.
Absolutely.
This, in fact, even because, okay, Sepsis could have been, the school said he played football. Maybe he did have a cut, and the bullying, the beating, opened the cut, and sepsis setting. The school needs to explain. Was there bullying? I don't want the school to escape, or the kids. I'm not saying I want the kids to be in jail or anything, but children have to realize that they cannot bully their peers. You know, so if we don't stop it, if we don't stop, please don't exonerate everybody. Just let us investigate this matter properly.
Thank you very much, Waike, because just like we said, this is just a scientific report. There are other parts of this story that is yet to surface.
What could have caused the sepsis? Was it the beating?
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation and listen, get calls from our viewers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, I had talked about the fact that the boy wasn't taken to the hospital, and that's not correct because I'm going back to the report, which is right in front of me. According to the report that we have, the young boy complained from the 20th and 21st of the school, right? And then they took him to the sick bay. On the 23rd, he was released to his family, and they were in Lagos. Whilst in Lagos, they conducted X-ray on his ankle. I think that was where the complaint was. So they did take him to the hospital from the 23rd to get an X-ray. After which, I don't know, we don't have the results of the X-ray of his legs. That was where the pain was. And then he was taken to Warri on the 26th. And then, I think because of the strike or so, a doctor was brought home to care for him. So if indeed... the Central Hospital was on strike. So now, if he was home on the 26th, the family doctor came in to treat him in the house. So if it was sepsis indeed, and just as I said, if it was not treated on time, so all this while, it has probably gone into the system and probably affected some of his organs, which is the lungs.
From definition, what sepsis is, so that we can understand this clearly. It says sepsis is a life-threatening complication of an infection. So already you have an infection, but it's getting complicated. It occurs when chemicals released in the bloodstream to fight an infection triggers inflammation throughout the body. This can cause cascade of changes that damage multiple organ systems, leading them to fail, sometimes even resulting in death. This boy was in such pain that I kept wondering what is wrong with him internally. He couldn't even stand straight. Right. He couldn't even mask or man up on this pain. It was intense. And so we all wondered he had to be poisoned because his organs must have been infected. But we are seeing from the autopsy reports now that sepsis is possible. So now this is my own. If he's in a school in care of somebody, as a mother, when my children have one infection, one of them starts vomiting, I start to mop. That's what I do in my house. I start to clean up. I start to disinfect the house. So a school where he's fed, he drinks, he stays in, what is the hygiene level? Yeah. Also, he could have been given a contaminated substance. We don't know because he said he was given something to drink. Absolutely. Also, the people in the hostel, how long? The hospital, the sick bay. Yes. What kind of treatment did they start with? Because they're saying that when the chemicals released to fight an infection triggers a chemical reaction in the body. So what exactly did they do? I want the police to do us good reports that we can not just say this is what the DPP has advised.
So as I said, I would like us to, now we've seen the report based on what the report has said. I would like us to put that aside for a second and then go back to the school. Because in every boarding house, you see, I was in a boarding house, and I know how important the housemaster, the house mistress, and even your principal is in monitoring, going around, surveilling, doing some kind of surveillance across the schools. What kind of administrative system do they have in this school such that children can't even come to the housemaster and say, sir, they are doing something in that room. Because we are too far away from the children. We had some senior, some members that will be snitching to teachers. But telling people, sir, someone going in that room, please go and check it. You protect the child. You don't tell the children will know that you're not going to show their identity. So obviously, there's a lot of problem within the school in monitoring and ensuring that boarding houses are well run. That's a major problem.
I'll go back to the fact that we had several stories of people who've had this experience in that same school. That's where your comment comes in, because you mentioned that this is just the Attorney General's report, police report. We need to have the report from the Ministry of Education, taking into cognizance all the other elements and revelations that came out of this story. Out of this story, people came out, parents came out in the PTA meeting on Zoom, which is online, saying how they took their children out of the school because of this situation happened to their own children. Some teachers that left the school said, this happened, I reported, and I realized nothing was happening, I left. Those things need to be investigated, number one. Some people online, because we need to separate facts.
Messages,
Yes, we need to separate facts from what we feel. And a lot of times, because of our emotional attachment to the fact that a little boy lost his life prematurely, we might not be able to understand. And in law, it is innocent until proven guilty. And if you cannot prove the guilt, there is nothing you can do about it. So people are saying here that the beating must have caused internal injuries. There was the investigation reports did not show any internal injury apart from the lungs.
That's what's assuming. Because of the way we saw the boy in pain.
Yes, that there was internal injury. Someone also mentioned that I think the boy was given medical attention by the family doctor. And let's put that out. Yeah. And
then there was a conspiracy theory. You know now Nigerians, because we're trying to find some kind of a story, right? So there's a conspiracy angle saying that, oh, once the thing entered Lagos, we knew that the story would change. That they should have just checked the boy in Warri, that the autopsy result from Warri is different from Lagos. And that's not true. Because the same pathologist that checked him and did the procedure in Warri
followed to Lagos.
He did his own and had his own results, which then corroborated. He followed them to Lagos. He was there. The 4 pathologists from the family of the 4 boys, the 2 or 3 from Lagos State, and the police officers were also there. It was a very, very crowded autopsy. I mean, even me as a parent, I'm thinking to myself, how would I even allow my child, God forbid? You know, but unfortunately, they had to do this. They made it so transparent. Where everybody, we are here, we are doing autopsy. Come and see. And then the result that came out corroborated what they did in Warri. So Nigerians want to see hanky-panky, but here there really isn't.
There's a lot of comments online saying that they're trying to cover it up. It's not true.
So to help us get Suko, the school must still take responsibility for this somehow.
Exactly. The school has to take responsibility. And I want us to realize what sepsis is. Sepsis is an injury that has become infected. When it does not mean that that boy was not beaten.
Yes.
It does not mean that the beating did not cause the sepsis, because they could have injured him and sepsis set in because the school was negligent.
Yes.
There is negligence in this. Even from this report, the school is liable because there is negligence on the part of the school.
Very, very.
It should not have even been, sepsis should not even have been allowed to set in.
Let me take this call from Norma that comes to Nima. Norma, are you there? Hello, Nama. Nama, are you there? Hello? Okay, we can't have it. Go ahead, Nima.
So I want to quickly say that I totally agree with the pathology report now. Reason is because as I'm taking the definition of sepsis and I'm trying to relate it with the video of last moments of that boy. Now, some of the symptoms of sepsis include fever. Obviously, you could see. Difficulty breathing. Low blood pressure, fast heart rate, and mental confusion. At the time of that video, the last moment, you would see this boy wasn't even coherent. He was, no mother wants to experience that. Yeah. And that state he was in is something that I expect the school to rise above every comment and be the bigger person. Yeah. Take responsibility where it is necessary.
Not come and carry your child.
No, I stop trying to say they are trying to destroy. Leave reputation now. In fact, build a reputation of accountability now. A child under your watch should not be dying, be dying from anything happening in school. Under your watch. Because I remember when I was growing up, I had a neighbor whose grandchildren came from the UK to stay with her, 2 of them. And she was saying, now maybe their maternal grandmother, that their paternal grandmother is in Nigeria here, but they brought them to her. When one of the babies fell sick, this woman lost sleep. She was saying to me that if anything happens to this child, they go see their mama people kill him. People must account when a child is within your watch. Yes. Yeah. You must hold yourself to a serious level of accountability. Yes. So I don't want to hear the kind of comments we heard from the
I know as a principal.
I need to understand something concerning this report. This report is only the pathology report. Because all through the report that I read, at no point did they mention the witnesses and schoolmates feedback on what happened. They did not mention that. They only mentioned the report from the school
autopsy and then the interrogation of the boys.
Of the boys. So, of course, the boys will say they're not involved. However, when this story broke, classmates, roommates mentioned this happened. The schoolmates are alive. They mentioned that while they were in their rooms, the light was switched off. That 5 people came in and they were hitting this boy.
Seniors.
Those children are alive. Yeah. So, Nima, I want to understand that, is this report now, does this mean that this is the end of it? Because they said they released the boy.
No. This doesn't stop investigation. This is DPP's advice on how, because when minors are charged, when minors are charged for major offenses like murder or attempted murder, the DPP has to advise on the next line of action on how to prosecute. And so this is the DPP's advice based on pathology report that this is what is showing. So cancel murder, cancel attempted murder and manslaughter, you can then release them because that's the only ground on which they can be detained over over the
it doesn't mean that another party cannot sue. You can still sue.
That investigation should not continue.
Absolutely.
So who will carry out investigation? Because if I'm a parent, God forbid we find ourselves in this situation, I would like to, what would be the line of action? Because the parents are agreed
can
now.
Still sue school.
Yes.
So the parents can still sue
negligence.
The parents can still sue the school.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is not the end of the road. This is just reports from the Ministry of Justice.
The school owes that parent the duty to protect the welfare and well-being of their child.
Nima,
they have every right to sue that.
Can the Ministry of Education also sue the school if they have grounds to do so?
Administratively, I don't think the Ministry of Education can.
No, there are different ways.
They have the power. They license schools to operate. They have the power.
Let me take this call.
To close down the school.
Good morning. Are you there? Sheol?
Yes.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I'm a caller.
Welcome to the show.
I contact the
I need the volume.
It's the pity that...
Sheol, I can't hear you very well. Could you speak louder, please?
Hello, hear me now?
Yes.
I said my contact to the Oromoni family over the death of their son. I just want to give ourselves. They have witnessed it inside that room when the incident happened. I know for a fact that the police probably did an hard job, or we are in Nigeria and we know for a fact that once something must have changed. I'm not accusing the police, they have just been trying to be normal Nigerians. Now, back to the case. There's no way the school would claim innocent in this case. There are people in that room that come out to say they witnessed what happened. The school has maintained that lie consistently that he had issues when he was playing football. Now, all they do, that was what happened.
Okay.
Really sad. Yes, I know that people are really heartbroken, and I'm a mother. No parents would pray this happens to anybody, but I'm reading the comments online, and I read comments on the report, and I feel like we need to understand that while we are very emotional about this, it is not every time anything from the government comes out, our first reaction is it is a lie, it is wrong, there's shoddy cover-up. If you don't have money, because I'm reading, people say, it's not good not to have money in this country. If you don't have money, things would go bad. The reports from the investigation, from the family's first autopsy done in Warri said sepsis. So it is not like the investigation in Lagos is a cover-up to hide what is going on. I agree that we have not seen the entirety of the picture, and everything that should be done hasn't been done to find what exactly happened here. However, from the pathological point of view, what killed the boy, according to the pathologist now, is sepsis. And until we have another scientist giving us facts, we would have to work with the facts available.
Yeah, and so,
my own is that something caused the sepsis.
Yes,
the sepsis
they need to dig deeper.
It's not just happen.
Something caused it.
Like
so they have not really told us what caused the sepsis.
So that's the next level.
And this report can't tell us that, based on what you're saying. So the point I'm trying to make is that I know, I tell everybody, when I try to start these kind of conversations, I let everybody know that we're on the same page. We don't trust the government, right? We all don't trust the government. They're all liars. They've all collected money. Somebody is rich, somebody is influential. That is the mentality. And we all have it.
True.
But as we are having that mentality, let's use like 10% of our brain to say, okay, what if indeed these pathologists are saying, what if money did not exchange them? What if? And let us, because 4 boys could have innocently gone to jail if indeed they didn't do anything. So let us look at both sides, and let's try to always look at the 360 degree. And that's why I say that this report cannot be the end of this conversation.
Yes, it's not conclusive.
It cannot, because this is just telling us scientifically.
Yes.
But doesn't mean that the bullying did not happen. Doesn't that boy wasn't beaten. Doesn't mean that sepsis wasn't aggravated based on the beating. Doesn't tell us that. So that could have happened.
We haven't taken the cognizance of the boy's last confession before he died.
Yes.
We didn't take cognizance. This report does not cover the witnesses that were in the room and other people who suffered bullying in the hands of these 4 children. By the time we put all of those together, I'm hoping that we would have justice meted out to everybody who has suffered bullying in the hand of these children, as well as the school should not get away scot-free and business will continue as usual.
Olushola from Abuja. Olushola, are you there? Olushola, are you there?
Where are you?
Yes, you're live.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah. Happy New Year to the house.
Happy New Year, sir.
Yeah. You know, the issue on ground here, the issue about high schools, boarding house, and private schools, something of all this nature. Is it we have to put something in place? It seems that our education has lost morality. The issue is this. How will you send your children to school? All what we went to do is to become master, to become something else. You went to somebody.
Oh.
The audio is really bad. I'm sorry.
He says, how can you send your children to school to become success, but they come out to become something else?
And that's where, I'm not even here to really blame the children. Because you have there, your teachers are supposed to be your guardians. They are supposed to watch over you. They're like, the way we think that we believe that God is watching over us. They too are supposed to watch. Your parents watch over you. Your teachers watch over you. And teachers, they are very, they can, in this case, irresponsibility is what is causing this problem. It's why they are even still discussing. Remember that girl in Abuja from
that
was
it was sepsis.
And
it was sepsis that killed her.
But in that investigation, I'm happy that they were able to say that we were able to link the fact that the sepsis was due to the fact that a condom was left in her vagina. And that was what led to the infection that made her die of sepsis.
Yes.
So now what we haven't gotten from this pathologist report is what caused the sepsis. And so we cannot even, for me, there should be further investigation on that in the autopsy to find what caused the sepsis. Because if
going to the conversion of boarding schools, because I was in a boarding school and I know that there's a different administration totally from day school. There's a way you ensure, because the house pastor not only stays there, he goes around and he gets, what they call them, informants, who gives him information on what's going on. They are very, very close to the children. So we have to find a way to hold the school liable in some way.
CCTV?
Sorry?
Why would the hostel not have a camera inside?
Sometimes.
But the camera never can take light. Who knows?
Have you seen children destroy CCTVs?
My son's school works without power.
Some children destroy CCTVs, Nima. I've seen a school where the children came and destroyed it.
That will alert the school system that the
there's
people
something wrong.
There's something wrong. Is wrong.
Yeah.
Paul William says on YouTube.
You see,
he says the boy was given something to drink. The story was corroborated by several witnesses, junior students, Ogene Bure's friends. What are we now saying here? Are we questioning facts? So this investigation cannot just end like this.
We agree.
But for more boarding schools, for us to avert this kind of, because personally, I don't even have faith in any boarding school system again. I don't trust giving my child to anybody. If I cannot parent the child, don't worry. So the system must continue to improve. Yeah. If a pastor can be tired and be walking around, put camera there, and somebody should sit in the office conveniently watching these children, how they play in the hostel. Yeah. Somebody could have watched camera and seen that they were beating this boy. Yeah. Instead of us relying on his classmate statement, somebody will run inside.
Teaching is a very noble profession.
Yes.
Teachers make or break a person, a child. It is because, apart from your parents, that is your next contact with an adult. So teachers have to take very serious responsibility. Look, like teachers.
Yeah, that's so important.
They are so important to society. Yes. That's why I believe in Nigeria they are underpaid. Yes, and they should be, a teacher should be so comfortable. And revered.
I like the question Oladidi posted. I said, now that the boys are exonerated, what stops them from leaving the country?
Yes, they'll just go.
My brother got a text from somebody on Facebook and says, Mrs. Kenikon was our English teacher in class 1B. She stood up one day, pointed at you and said, you will never be successful in life. I hope she lived to see what you have become. I was in that class. You created bombers, you funded them. That is what that teacher said to that child. You will never, you cannot, you are supposed to be responsible for his success.
Yes.
Right.
Do you understand? And
even the school, remember this school particularly immediately came out with a defense.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
He was football.
Yeah. You know, you see this school.
So there's got to be something. I mean, the school this cannot be the end of this investigation. So yes, as I said, the school itself, we need to hear from the school. Because we need to know who's going to, is it the school, or ask them for questioning, or investigate further. There's got to be more to this than
I think parents have a right to sue the school.
The
parents have a right to sue the school. Parents generally sue the school, and they also can have a class action where all the parents of all the other children that have been bullied entirely, including the one who lost their life, can sue the school in group and say that we don't feel this school is a competent school to raise children. Can we shut down the school?
Okay, we have to wrap up.
You have bullies in your school and you have not carried all of them and expelled them.
That's whether or not the government locks down the school, whether or not action is taken against the school, Nigerians should take action by themselves. If your child is still in the school, it's your business.
Exactly.
If you're thinking of taking your child to that school, after all of this, it's still your business. So people should now, before you start to let's us take responsibility.
Let's not forget that there are children about to write exams in this school. There's some final year students. So these students, because of this whole thing, this school has been closed down. So yes, this investigation has happened. Now let us switch the conversation. There are about 400 other children there who want to finish school and just move on to with their lives. Is it not unfair to keep the school closed? And so that these children will not complete their school? Because the truth is that these children...
One person died, though. One person died.
I'm telling you as a parent, your child is not school.
So what I feel
There's nothing that's unfair to you when your child is still alive. The unfairness in this, sorry, Tokwe, is to the person who's lost their child.
Yes, so what I feel can be done,
the child that
and the Ministry of Education has capacity to do it, is to split the children into other schools within that area so that they write their exams and they don't miss a year. But that the school itself as a company should not continue, because the school is beyond an education institution. It's a company, it's a money-making business.
Right.
And they should pay for the fact that they have not done well in doing what they are meant to do before they got the license. For everything, you get a license, there are rules and regulations that guide that license.
So in honor of Sylvester, that school shouldn't be open. That's what you're saying?
Yes, and the children should be allowed to go to other schools to write their exams for those final year students. And they should not be allowed to miss a year. But right now, I heard that the schools are doing online, that the school is online. They are online.
The school has been closed down, and the Ministry of Education specifically said that they've not opened, they've not allowed them to open yet, because they're all waiting for this report. So it's based on this report, they can now tell us what the next action will be.
The next action, I believe, should be investigate. Okay, we have heard what the pathologists have to say.
We removed murder.
Oh, yeah?
We've removed the...
Let me take that child got beaten.
Let me take this call. Good morning, are you there? Hello? Hello, good morning. Hello, Teddy, are you there? From Spain. Okay, you don't have to call. So we have to wrap up on this, I think. So, I mean, as I said, our hearts go out to the family. Do you have any
Oladidi says, I'm truly saddened by this case. With his last breath on the sick bed, Sylvester gave an account. Now, justice should not be gagged, and it's an unfair world.
Right.
I think that any dying person's last statement, even in law, is treated with seriousness. So that last statement should be further probed. Right. If we can rule out murder and manslaughter, we can find out other forms of offenses, criminal offenses that are possible from this.
Let us assume that the child was not bullied. Let us assume, for argument's sake. Please, what was the school looking at that a leg will become infected? To have septicemia, they call it.
It was his lungs. I think it would be.
Yeah, it's not even the leg. The pathology said it was his lungs.
Can you imagine? So while they are their eyes, a child that is in your care develops sepsis. Do you know how long it takes for sepsis to set in?
Really, our heart still goes out to the family.
It's really sad, but our hearts go out to the family of Sylvester. The mother was, we saw her yesterday. It's painful. Parents will do everything they can to keep their child alive. This is quite a painful development, and we just hope, and we'll continue to monitor the story and see what happens to Dowen College and see what the Ministry of Education plans to do going forward. That's all we can take on this topic. When we come back, move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
tuned. Your View will be right back.